We went from pyramids to plantations to projects to penitentiaries. And you think America got love for me? We went from pyramids to plantations to projects to penitentiaries. And you think America want to see me free? I was born at 8'10", died, revived, and born again. With fight in my blood, storm and rain, war and sin. Then again, I am the statistic that the government enlisted for prison with standardized testing, repeated helpings of failure through public school systems. The projects projected only one would erect from city streets, swap meets, generations of derelicts, let alone from a mother who birthed 13, and a mother's mother who bore the exact same thing. Let's not forget Prince Charming, whose abuse had substance, longed for peace, but served a country that lacked justice. Point, infiltrated veins, molested blood, relaxed the complexity of pain, which left me to logically believe that if time heals, the incarceration system is doing a dang thing. Now, if we could bypass the root of plausible evolution, it would be safe to say that I was born in confusion, subjugated to the media's illusions of who I be, which leads me to the point: rocks, water, and leaves. Follow me to the good book where people are metaphors for trees and peace is found in the stillness of streams. Follow me to the good book where the end is known in the beginning and the beginning is known in the end, and those who pains us most is either family or friends. Lead me beside the still waters and watch the branches on fertile trees fall like leaves because of the season. And there you will see my pop of ages rocking the congregation of these city streets with the solid rock of the coca leaf. May I borrow a line, please? My dad, my dad rocks. No, really, my dad rocks. No, really, my dad rocks. Sometimes in his weed. Sometimes he melts it, but it makes his arms bleed. Beep, beep, beep. Reverse what you heard. The natural herb can no longer satisfy the need. Cocaine baptized the weed, and the audacity of hope try to make my pop believe he could stop. Cain killed Abel. Now what about that verse was forgot? Watch how the system depicts the second hand when you hear the tick of a time bomb stuck in the pit of a habit trying to quit. This is the last time. Baby, I sold the ring for a hit. This is the last time. Daughter, I'll be there, I won't forget. This is the last time. Mama, I sold the TV. This is the last time. God help him, he's sick. No one knows who's in control, depending on the stroll, the rhythm, the catch, the chase, the smack, the look, the feel, the taste. See what the childhood remembers. The wounds of the past is brought to the present figure. The man has become a nigger. The preacher has turned into a pimp. Black Panther has been infiltrated by the government. The sun fell off his axis trying to orbit, traveling 135 miles per second and still falling, and we him hawing with prison. I wish they could privatize the addiction. Then we can rehabilitate the illness when it duplicates and forms cellmates. Are you listening? Water, rocks, leaves, drowns the minds of insecurities. Bathe the cheeks, wash the feet, weep in the garden of Gethsemane. Can I get a witness? Well, let me hear you speak. 'Cause if you don't cry out, then rock could cry out, and I don't want no rocks crying out for me. If you don't cry out, then a rock could cry out, and I don't want no rocks crying out for me. We went from pyramids to plantations, to projects, to penitentiaries. And you think America got love for me? We went from pyramids to plantations, from products to penitentiaries. You think America want to see me free?
The promised land. Brother. If Brooklyn is the heart of America, Atlanta gots to be the soul. Where you from? Gots to be the South, no doubt. You can tell by the flow of my mouth, my southern twang, distinguished disposition, superior manners, inert intuition, the feeling of home whenever in my presence, for I reek of the essence of Atlanta. My whole life was right off Martin Luther King. My whole life I sang, we shall overcome. I knew I was one of those who would go down fighting, most likely through my writing and speaking, continuously seeking truth, letting my folks beware, but never afraid, because destiny is laid. Knowing all you can give is showing others how to live. I learned that from King. Such a simple thing, living with no fear. I was fed that right here. How the hell I'm gonna be scared? My grandmother's grandmother was a slave. Rape and reoccurring resignation, no one could save her or stop her from engraving survivor on the road she paved. 4 generations later, I stand unscathed. Call me brave, but it just runs through my veins, the pain and the triumph of Camille Bell. I remember the killings in the ATL. They was blaming this kid named Wayne, but we ATLians could claim to the Klan for most of the old slang. Stone Mountain, where the Ku Klux was created, now invaded with affluent Nubians and Mexican natives. While other kids stay jaded, we stay elated off the excellence of Monica Kaufman on Channel 2. You never know how she gonna have her do. I saw her one year at the Sweet Auburn Festival. You know, the famous avenue where Ebenezer Baptist Church is located. Never been in, real hard to get through. ATL, we love Dr. King. The King family, another issue. And who knew a city that feels like a neighborhood could host the Olympic Games? I'll tell you who, Maynard Jackson and Andrew Young, they did the damn thing. See, being from here, I knew I could do whatever I wanted long as I had a plan. See, being from here, I knew I could do whatever I wanted long as I know I am. See, being from here, I knew I could do whatever I wanted long as my mission I understand. I thank God I'm from the promised land, ATL.
Blood on the leaves and blood at the road.
I can still see his face. Crooked over to the side, eyes closed like a baby sleeping. And I can still see that paint. Reminiscent of the kind found in Walgreen aisles during the Halloween season. Breeze and wind drying up the clown face on his skin. Big white lips making 90-degree turns around where his real mouth lay. Eyes colored in the way that left his real eyes disguised behind lies that said he was just another Negro that got what he deserved. And I can still see his face, painted like blackface with white paint. I can smell the solvent intertwining with the water and oil while it was drying, even though I would be lying if I said I was there. I can taste drip drops of his African blood being leaked from his body that night. The end of his fight rested on a branch not far away. Billie Holiday called it strange fruit swinging from trees. And another semi-freed slave became a statistical story history books would fail to mention. The abolition delivered the Negro birth control, lynching. And since I got ears listening, let me just say that I know I am a prophet. I am so much more than a poet, but I willingly assume that title. I was born to write his story so he wouldn't have a forgotten life. The story of cold-winded nights where the howling of the moon didn't shed enough light for him to see his stars. I was born to recite the tales of cars, bombing away the lives of 21-year-old soldiers and older retired Marines with lost limbs and shrapnel in their arms. I wasn't put here for oohs and ahs, but if you like what you hear, shout it out in agreeance, because I can't stop and I won't stop like P. Diddy, making poems unpretty like TLC, mapping out blueprints like Jay-Z, P to the Izzo, E to the Tizzy. I was birthed under the poet's tree, and its leaves sprinkle me with the fairy dust of words. Morning dew spread across my forehead and baptized me in the name of spoken word. I was sent here from a planet where prose rules and poetry moves 500,000 in its first week's release, climbing billboards to the top, where the term ghostwriter has the same sting as the word nigger being used by a Mississippi racist cop. Spooky, ain't it? I know. I'm a UWO, unidentified writing object, and Bush had my pens tapped and my paper trace, but I don't care because I stay laced in my own creative juices, only stopping to base myself in alphabet soup. Take 2 scoops of this truth and then call me in the morning. I deliver facts right off the showroom floor, driving them with my ink like a black Bentley with suicide doors. Material things are take backable, but this gem in my head is unretractable. My skull protects my brain so that it can't be stolen. I live my life like truism is golden, and I refuse to let my observations go to waste. Folks come and tour my verbal creations like the taste of Chicago, where every day is the 4th of July, and as long as I continue to bleed the words onto paper, I will be able to make my poems cry. I deposit them
into the unused memory on the hard drive and give birth to poetry. And at the drop of my pen or the last stroke of my key, I give flight to this world's reflection in mirrored rhythmical compositions, rhyme, verbal, or read. I am here to speak for you and cry for them. Speak for them and cry for you. And when these tears dry, a new page will be born. I'm bound to poetry's cord, but if you look at your navel, you'll see part of me strung to you like lights on a Christmas tree, because without your breath, I couldn't inhale life to breathe into poetry. My name is poetry, and the words bleed from the syllables of my anatomy in hopes that each tear I cry are 2 tears less that you have to shed. I hope my life brings you the change you desire to be fed, and so I cry for the fallen soldiers and the ghetto heroes, for the baby mamas pulling in zero support, for Darfur, for New Orleans, for gentrification, for the parents still waiting on their kids to return home. I will even cry for drop calls on your cell phone. My name is poetry, and I cry for you. My name is poetry, and I cry for you. And to each heir of the memories of men like Thomas Shipp, Abraham Smith, and the nameless face with the white paint who left blood on the leaves and roots of U.S. trees, your story will live on through me. My name is poetry, and this is a poem cry for you.
Called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. But what about the forgotten faces of the ghetto? From the south side of Chicago to Soweto, from Atlanta to Amsterdam, and me being born and bred in the land of Abraham Lincoln. I was thinking about the people I pass on the street, the people I meet, the people outside the liquor store begging for something to eat. How black people pass each other on the street and still don't speak. Apply for your Section 8 so great when you get chose, but the ghetto don't leave your soul just when you change zip codes. 100 degrees in the hood, but it's still so cold, swollen like lymph nodes. Either you sell crack, you play ball, or you pimp those. But I know God made the ghetto, so God is in control. Remember that? And your blessings will pour out like a busted fire hydrant on a hot summer day. Some leave and some stay. Some give up and some pray. In the ghetto, where blue blinking lights keep shorties up at night. Either that or gunplay. Some say it's a lost cause. I see them younger and younger copping balls. Block as hot cops stay involved. What's the logic? You riding slick, you live with your mama, but you stay in the mall. My people is hustling backwards. My people is hustling backwards. Tell me, how do we go from King Tut to trappers, from Malcolm X to nothing matters, as brain matter splatters on the floor, another guideline out in chalk. A distraught mother and the cops can't handle her. The tape goes up and we wait for the examiners. You know, my people is living life like God ain't got us here on loan. They either dying for nothing or dying for folks that ain't never ever coming home. They say we grind cause we hurt, but baby, it's a bigger picture out there than your man on front of a t-shirt. Repping your man that's lying in the dirt in the ghetto where you wait for the first. Red Kool-Aid quench your thirst. You got concrete jungle kings, crack fiends, and baby mama teens that bring sunshine to the hood and the flowers grow. But the only flowers we know are wild Irish rose. And I'm sick of these ghetto stories on Maury. 5 baby daddies, and sadly no one mentions AIDS. No one mentions how HIV is putting black bodies in graves, cause all I hear in these rappers' verses is gun clapping, more black bodies and hearses, when the truth is, y'all, the state ain't handing out numbers, they handing out letters. Judge is not afraid to L-I-F-E life your behind. I bet you won't be thinking about Jeezy or 50 Cent while you sit in the cell watching your life go behind. Yeah. With these words, I want to light your path. With the heart of an angel and the soul of a rebel. As God is my witness, witness me tell you I write, because it saved my life. I was sick of living like a harlot, so I took off my scarlet letter and I wrote a letter back to God. Begging forgiveness for ever turning my back on God. Started spending less time on Facebook and MySpace and more time studying my faith. You can make it my last will and testament. When I die, engrave poet on my headstone and rest a pen. You could give my notebooks to my mama and my next of kin, and let Sunday, Chicago, Sun-Times obituary read Emerald Green's cause of death. Let it simply state, the sister wrote and wrote and wrote until her people was free, until her people was free, until her people was free, or until there was nothing left.
Yo, look back on the movie when cats used to harmonize like you wasn't down and you called him again. Plus when you give it up so easy, you ain't even fooling him. If you did it then.
He caught me getting high. Didn't know what I was doing, just saw tears streaming from my eyes. Thought maybe it was something that he had done. Sat right next to my left leg, rubbed my back, and assured me everything was okay. He caught me getting high. He caught me getting high. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know what I was doing. He caught me getting high off my own supply. Put a nickel in the bag, said puff, puff, pass. To myself, I get high with myself. He caught me getting high off my own supply. Put a nickel in the bag, said puff, puff, pass to myself. I get high off myself for Shalom and Messiah. He caught me getting high. Didn't know what I was doing, just saw tears streaming from my eyes. Thought maybe it was something that he had done. Sat right next to my left leg, rubbed my back, and assured me everything was okay. Wondered if I was crying because I got a call from his teacher, or if it was because he had a red day. Didn't know that the last 5 years had more downs than ups, and everything that was tried just didn't seem to be enough. See, mama's dreams were a bit robust, but the fire that once burned within was now starting to lose its thrust. Piddling positions, inadequate by measure. College degrees had no meaning when there was no heat to warm the shelter. Water pots and short evening baths were hot, but cold water washes couldn't get everything clean. So restrictions had to be put on clothes worn. All while the play children asked my son, "Didn't you have that on yesterday?" And I said it was only for an hour. Now go on outside if you really want to play. But ain't it funny how things change? See, he met me while I was on this stage, yet being an artist was the equivalent to being unemployed. Unstable is how he worded it. Childhood dreams taken a bit too far. Now since we have children, cars, picket fence, front and backyard, he say, quit. I say, I thought I wasn't employed. He said, be a mother, as if that was a duty I had ignored. But there it was on the table. Your family or your artistry, choose. Never perplexed about what I had to do, but why should I bow down to a fool? Slavery versus freedom, giving versus receiving, questioned my stability for the sake of the children, and he thought this be an ultimatum I could not refuse. So I whispered in the ear of Isabella Baumfree, told her she wrote this poem for me before I looked him square in the eye and said, ain't I a woman? Then a mother is something I'm going to always be it to you, this earth, or my children. I came here to water, earth, and nourish the seed, so if you think I'm going to leave or close the curtain because you feeling like a shadow, then maybe it's your stability that should be questioned in this court battle. But ain't it funny? Ain't it funny how things change? See, I never considered myself a user or an abuser. Lived that destruction while it ran its course through my daddy's line. Promised to quit, but like an addict, one hit was never enough, and getting another occupied most of my time. Every chance on that line. Stolen moments of enjoyment, entertaining and repugnant, but I had to write. Those dead trees injected life into my nights, and every night it would just ease my state of mind. See, Langston warned me through those dreams deferred, but never did I think people would hate on the pedagogy of words. So I'm in dark places, moonlighting just to formulate subjects and verbs, hiding dotted I's, crossing T's when he left eye, because his nouns have been attacking my independent clauses. Fear and insecurity, the only things between me and a better life, childhood memories wanted to explain. But Time was taking too long to move his hands. Seconds, minutes, hours grew to days, months, and years, and the dream had begun to run on fear. Turn those lights on, it's getting a little hot in here. Shh, can you hear those voices? They are boisterous, begging me to take another hit. Something hope that life could persuade these predicaments, but fact is, time is taking too long to move his hands. Seconds, minutes, hours grew to days, months, and years, and the dream had begun to run on fear. Turn those lights on, it's getting a little dark in here. Shh, can you hear those voices? They are boisterous, begging me to take another hit. Begging me to take another hit. Life's predicaments, but the fact is, it is what it is. I am a mother fighting for my children as a litigant. I am a mother fighting for my children as a litigant. Responded, state your name and occupation. Yes, I'm Tasha Jones, literary addict, fighting to keep my children while creating an environment with no casualties or fatalities. I just want to be an intellectual property, studied in textbooks, laureate of poetry, creating workshops and seminars, donating millions to young scholars, brave new voices, guest speaking at your conferences in those churches, sitting in those big yellow chairs between Maya, and Oprah. Hey, Oprah, convincing the children that dreams do come true if you keep on believing and working. Plus working toward the goal. Maybe I just want to grow old with secured wealth and own myself and provide for my children, and their kids. Just a dream of a citizen. Or maybe it's a tall tale. Because if my gender was born male, then the way I provide wouldn't even be questioned in justice's eyes. When in fact, justice is supposed to be blind. See, I would be the breadwinner, the provider, the antithesis of what I was being accused to become the stabilizer. So you tell me what I should tell to my little girl. Baby, we living in a furious world. And if evil had its way, then Jesus wouldn't have woolly hair or copper skin. In fact, the pyramids would be in Europe. Men would own the company, cook and clean, follow and lead, plus birth the children. This would be their world, not a place for you and me, despite suffrage, equal rights amendments, Athalia, Black Mary and Madonna, Rosa, Coretta, Hillary, and Michelle Obama. I guess I'm supposed to eradicate forward progression and take my place, put my purpose on the shelf and begin to waste, take an odd job with even odder wages, triple bypass the feeling in my heart to forsake my African sages. Is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this living while loving you? See, ain't nothing in the world more demeaning than the person you love stabbing you, but you refuse to see yourself bleeding. Now I'm ducking and weaving in my house, hiding journals, notebooks, and pens in secret places he'll never think to look in, like kitchen cabinets and laundry rooms, empty shoe boxes in the vestibule, because I hear jazz when he hit me. You can hear it too. It's like Coltrane and Etheridge, Maury Evans and West. I get high off of Fabrino paper, leather binders, and book sets. I have entered my children in every library reading contest, and you don't have a 911 for me. What's the emergency? Yes, I like to triolet, rhyme, lyric, sonnet, and haiku. And my children do too. Try this for your headline news. 8-year-old boy tells counselor at school, my mama gets high off of poetry. It makes her giddy. She reads and writes to us plenty. There's no deficit in literature. We may be, but we may be a little math needy. She takes us to coffee houses and theater shows. We've already met the last poets and seen August Wilson's lessons in pianos. My sister speaks in vibrato while I like prose. And sometimes we leave early so daddy won't bloody her nose. And sometimes they argue about why she won't let it go, and she say those are letters and words. Too many people fought and died for letters and words. So we gotta hold on to teach us how to dream. Create heaven when hell is in the midst of things. My daddy say she addicted, but she just mama the weed. And he caught me getting high. He caught me getting high. He caught me getting high. He caught me getting high off my own supply. Put a nickel in the bag, say puff puff pay to myself. I get high with myself.
I'm just a soul whose intentions are good.
They say we are not artists, as if that title turns us into living lies. They say his brushstrokes sound like pen notes, and my ink blots look like blurred lines and cross-outs. They say real poetry doesn't have cross-outs. Real artists don't use junkyard material. They don't construct masterpieces from broken pieces of glass and baby dolls. They say we lack the foundation to be the perfect prototype. We be a fraudulent lie, painted in brightly woven metaphoric colors. According to them, we are nothing like what is found in museums, or that which graces fallen trees, bound by hot glue guns, printed in Times New Roman font. We aren't New Roman poets. We are shrubbery in the way, clouding what is real, hiding behind the unique practice of memorizing and acting all at once. They say these stanzas are just paragraphs of gibberish, and that's why we limited to speaking 3 minutes per piece, because we are what you least expect to be great, therefore we are not. They say education is the key to being a master at what you do. Rustic collections of unorthodox ornamental yard displays don't equate to what they think is real artistry, but creativity will not be bound by laws of scribe and rites of passage. We be artists, full of passion, searching least for what's shiny and on display, and more for what speaks the hard truth of a people. Catch us picking calluses from hands after weeks of operating on the next greatest love story told through our eyes. We speak narratives that one can relate to, spoken word. We will make you stand and stare at our paintings. Haven't you heard that's what being an artist is all about? I am talking about painting the troubled times and broken promises of the piss poor forgotten about. That is what we write about. Those are the pictures we depict, create, comprise. With God-given talent, there is no compromise, but they think we bottom feeders, pulling the lines drawn until we accidentally trip over them, and society accepts us, then neglects us, rope necks us, picture us hanging higher than the pictures we paint, from the pictures painted of us as the odd ones out. They call us outsiders. We feel like strange fruits, but yet and still our hands will remain covered in new creations, birthing nationwide stories on paper in poetic form, gracing stages with personalities that light up prose like black roses tanning under sunlight. What we write is like what hangs up on these walls, and what hangs up on these walls is called life, freedom of expression, no subculture necessary. Some of the best art sits in front of old dusty shacks in the South. Drive down a Delta back road and you may find him picking out parts to piece together for his newest work of genius. Drive a fourth of the mile and you might catch them singing while they sewing, patching together memories and quilted wishes that deserve Guggenheim recognition. These are artists. Step foot into an open mic without your rule book. Bear witness to people turning emotional baggage into the recipe for inspiration. We are artists, though somehow buried under the sacrificial lamb dust when we are really first butterflies, moving across dark skies in search of sunset rainforests, immortalizing this visual through our gifted talents. Hail Mary, we are sprigs of lavender, pushing through broken cemented walkways. Call us groundbreaking. We are not lies covered up behind glam and title. We are hard truth hidden behind America's pride, a black ball fist wrapped up in poetic spoken word. V for the victory. We are displays of red splashes, yellow bursts of luminosity, high heels and burnt pieces that speak rage of a people. We are artists, hard truth. We are artists, hard truth. We are artists, hard truth. Ink rings on all 10 fingers, and what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Thank you.
In a little tent, oh, and just like the river.
Why must you show your tail? Why not let class prevail? Do you want to be lusted after or respected? And you wonder why real men reject you. You ever wonder what a sister be thinking when she in the club shaking her tail, drinking and shaking till her butt is messed up? But then she's stuck when she look up on a brother that just don't care. He wants to cut her up and pull out that hair. She wears a blonde weave teased about 4 feet, styled in a fan. Got it done by a brother she claiming her man, but if she got a man, why she in the club? Letting men molest her. She think it's love. It's not love, it's lust. But she wants that attention. She needs it from men. Never knew her daddy had to mention, that's a clue. To our real man, she never knew. With her loveless self, there's no telling for a man what she'll do. She'll shake, she'll smile, she'll lie, she'll cut. She'll drop, she'll lick, she'll follow, she'll... Men can see this by her demeanor. He shows her some interest, so she's eager. He's not concerned about how to please her. He'll use her even though her resources are meager. Damn schemer. But when you looking at like a hoe, you'll get pimped. You being played for a fool, a sucker, a simp, letting these fake men blow you up like a blimp. He'll never want you for his queen, just a temp. Now take that $60 for the pink fox and get your weave crimped. You don't realize, and it's right before your blue eyes, how you have been brainwashed, even hypnotized by TV, video, picture show, and other hoes to be similar to the devils who ain't even on your level. Trill things aren't weighed like gold. My sister, the true jewel is your soul, but you steady busting your butt to get... You still busting your butt to get a shirt by BB. Some cloth with 4 letters across your TT. Just to impress people who aren't of good character. Paying $140 for an outfit when you only got $200, that's a factor. Your priorities are all wrong. But it won't be long before you wake up, I hope. You are like this because you can't cope with being yourself 24 hours a day. To be you means to be different. Too big of a price to pay? Well, think about the cost of freezing your tail off in the cold in line, waiting an hour and a half to get in at Trimmers or Club 559 with a skirt right below your butt cheeks. Sisters shake their head, brothers holler, freak. If you ain't cutting, I ain't speaking. He ain't speaking unless you freaking. He'll hook up with you next weekend to sit and chat and spit some game. You like him and figure, hey, he's not a lame, so you screw him and don't know his full name. When he doesn't call you back, you feel ashamed. I've been there, my sister. I feel your pain, sister to sister.
To all my queens, goddesses, earths, wisdoms, sisters, sistrins, vixens, females, and prostitutes. Because just imagine, what if God put the truth in prostitutes? I offer you this. You're amazing, sis, queen, mama, womb warrior, as beautiful as Valletta when she gave birth to Notorious. I'm talking to Feenie, pregnant, holding Tupac in her thoughts in a New York City jail. What a sweet swelling of the earth. Beautiful like Betty and Malcolm's brown-eyed baby girls at birth. Wailing like Mahalia in the old Baptist church just when you think you've hit rock bottom like peppermints in your grandmama's old purse. I think it was a red clutch. Women, we are clutch. We are ready during battle. You can toss me a paddle to roll this river deep. Throw a baby on my knee and watch me bounce that baby to sleep. Master's kids used to suck on me. Georgia plantation upstairs nursery of the house. Her left breast was in her future master's mouth. But we can still find the joy to laugh out loud. Like Moms Mabley, Pearl Bailey, Wanda, Monique, and some more went on tour. Us women, we are the cure. We are the rub, don't scratch unless you want stretch marks. We are the don't squeeze pimples girls. The marks left behind will be dark. This poem is for all my women with big hearts and black eyes who believed the last time her lover wasn't gonna hurt her again. A victim of her lover's insecurities. Oh, how we love our men even when they dead wrong. Go to Cook County Jail. Sisters sit and wait in long lines with babies piled up to see daddy, because sadly, this is how sister used to see her daddy. To the women who teach their children not to chase caddies and materialistic things. To the queens that worship our kings and not just the throne. Bright smiles, extended arms, welcome home. When you leave, put a hat on. My mama still leave the light on, y'all, and I'm grown. But when she know I'm coming home, she always cooks something. Tuna salad, Swedish meatballs, red velvet cakes. To the women who hate washing dishes, so we keep paper plates. We are original, authentic. We are the sunshine behind the clouds. We are the mortar between the bricks. She couldn't sell her soul on Cottage Grove if there wasn't any tricks. To the wives who submit. To the wives who submit, even during pain. We maintain and dance to the beat of the heart, even when the beat drops, like Coretta and Merle when they heard the news. Confidence higher than hats worn in Easter Sunday's pews. With constant love and encouragement, us sisters, we come equipped to lay the foundation for future generations to come along. Sweetly serenading you like Nina Simone when she penned her song to Lorraine Hansberry. It's scary, almost dangerous to be young, to be gifted, to be black. Our sons are under constant attack. But it ain't about what you lack, it's about what you gain. My great-grandmama Rosetta used to clean the house and sing, I won't complain. To all my queens, goddesses, earths, wisdoms, sisters, sistrins, vixens, females. And I sure can't forget the ever so popular prostitute. Cause just imagine, what if God put the truth in prostitutes? That's why it's the oldest profession around. I offer you this. Thank you.
The sister that I'm about to bring out now, she is one of my favorite poets. You know, I have Maury Evans is my all-time favorite, Allison Horton, and then this young lady, Januarie York. Show her some love. Don't she look so beautiful? I love it. So she did a slam for me about 4 or 5 years ago. I did a slam called I Must Read Poetry Slam. And this was the adult slam, because that slam is for children. But the first year I did it for adults and children. And then figured out that adults was too much to handle. So we just stuck with the kids. But this sister right here, she tied with another sister who was very talented. And I told her on that day. As a matter of fact, I got in a car accident that day and still came to the slam dedicated. Yeah, I had a neck brace on and everything, but I told her on that day that I really enjoyed her writing, and I hope and I prayed for her that nothing ever stops her from writing. Sometimes as artists, similar to Thornton, we have things that come in our way and try to block us. And like Mr. Dial, he was just doing this work in his yard because it made him peaceful. Somebody else saw him, Will Arnett, and said, you are an artist. And that's how I felt about this sister. She is a writer. And I love her, and I'm so glad that she was able to be here for us. Give it up one time for Januarie York. And she's a hometown girl, Indianapolis, Indiana. This next sister that's coming out to the stage, she is from Chicago, Illinois. She is a teacher. She educates the youth not only on poetry, but about social issues and political issues. She has spoken at the Democratic Convention. She has been on HBO Def Poetry, Lyric Cafe, and just earlier this week, she taped a new poetry show that's about to come out on TV One called Verses and Flow. And Emerald Green just taped for that. So give Emerald Green some love. We want to give her some extra love because Miss Patterson, said, okay, I won't be able to make it, but I'll be there soon. And Emerald Green said, I will go. And she loved Mr. Dial's work as well. Now, this next sister is who I started off with, and I told y'all before that sometimes it's just good for people to take you by the arm, right? And to say, if you don't know your greatness, nobody else will. She is amazing like that. She is a Peabody Award winner, a Tony Award winner. The only person, not the only person, but one of the only few that have been on HBO Def Poetry 7 times. Been on the Monique Show 3 times, I think. Lyric Cafe, and she also taped for Lexus Presents Verses and Flow. I want you to give it up for my sister friend who loves to be around sister friends who are great. Give it up for Georgia Me. Let me tell you one more thing about Miss Georgia Me. Let me tell you just one more thing. Her real name is Tamika Harper, and she is from Atlanta, Georgia, right? She's the only poet, to my knowledge. I may be wrong. Google it and tell me if I am. But she is the only poet that has a day named after her. May the 4th is officially the Tamika Harper Day in Atlanta, Georgia. In 3 counties. And she also does a festival called Tamika Festival that whole weekend, just to give back to the community. She gives out a scholarship to young people who are going to college. So show her some more love. Now, at this point, we are going to answer some questions in regards to Thornton Dial, why we thought this was so important, why I thought it was so important to have an all-female cast, and any questions that you may have. So you have an opportunity in this setting. Look at y'all in the balcony. Hey, balcony. Oh, take note. Thank y'all for coming. I love my city. Hey, beautiful. Yeah. So, okay. If you have any questions, then I'm going to act as your moderator at the same time, I guess. Oh, thank you, sister friend. Give it up for this young lady right here who made sure that we were equipped for the hearing impaired. To give it up one time for Mr. Robert Hornberger, who's the sound man. Now, I know y'all not really scared, so if you have a question, come to the mic. We can do that? Okay, so or you can just stand up. Thank all the school teachers who came and brought their students. Give y'all some love. Okay, so we'll open it up to you, and if you have any questions, just fill in. I am your host, Tasha Jones. Okay. Amen. Amen again. Amen one more time. Yes. How you doing, beautiful? Please state your name and then ask the question.
My name is Dr. Kuzu, and my question is the same statement that you made. Why did you feel it was important to do this with sisters?
With an all-female cast. I chose to do it with the museum asked me to curate this for the Tariq it's almost been like 2 years ago. And originally I was going to do it with my students, the Write Me Project, right? But then I started reading about Mr. Thornton Dial's life and his work and why he he did what he did, why he created art. He just wanted to make something with his hands, right? He just loved doing things with his hands because that's the time that he was in. If you don't work, you don't eat. You have to create or you're not going to have anything. That's how he felt. But he had a reverence for women. And that's something that we don't see today. We don't see that often in the media. We don't see it in our artistry. You know, even it's just so many biases. And he had a pure reverence for his mother, his aunt, the people who raised him, and his daughter. And I wanted to project that. I wanted to, for our interpretations of this male visual artist, to give a balance, I guess, to his work. You know, it's always a balance, and I love balance. And I wanted to make sure that we knew that what we were interpreting was truth, be it hard. And as hard as it was our truth from his work. And I just appreciated the reverence that he had for women. And I wanted to make sure that that was shown from a female's point of view. Thank you so very much for your question.
You can ask questions about the work too if you want to.
Because we did study the work. We studied his work.
Okay, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My folk from Durant, Georgia, Meriwether County, country. And I'm just saying, I'm proud country. I will survive in the revolution. You will be looking for me, okay? I'm just saying, ain't nothing wrong with country. But for those of you who go down south, you know how you go down south in the country roads and you see all this so-called junk on people's yards and all these colors, and you're like, Lord, they just ain't got no sense. But that's their creation, that's their expression. And seeing his work reminded me of all those things, and it was his vision, and it's so political. One of his pieces, I got so many pieces that I love in the book, but one of his pieces is called Old Alabama, New Alabama. And it shows both sides, and it's about the progression of the South. You know, I'm from Atlanta, which I consider black world, because everybody runs stuff, they black, you know. I mean, just what it is. If you, the man keeping me down, ain't no man, you the man, you know what I'm saying? Like, so in seeing the progression of what Atlanta was and what Atlanta is, if anybody has ever been to Atlanta in 1980 and ain't been to Atlanta now, they're like, this is a whole nother city. So that one piece spoke to me so much. Just so many words, trophies. You seen the sisters up here doing the pieces about women. And I'm big on women not auditioning for a man. You know? That, you know, you're the prize, you know what I'm saying, child? You're like, what's wrong with you, you know? But if you're acquired, you can be traded. You understand me? So that's why I just love the politicalness. All of his work, The Strange Fruit, everything just is so magnificent. And Peckerwood City, where you go in and look all beautiful, and on the other, see, that's nothing about black folk. Black folk, we don't have the patent on struggle. Do you understand me? White folk go through just as much as we go through. It might look nice on the outside, but you don't know what's behind those doors. You know, so that's what I loved about his work. He just, you know, free and unapologetic about how he feels. So that's why I love him. And he from the South and, you know, country and everything.
I personally like his work because I think in today's day and age, people are so wasteful. We just throw away things and just don't really think that this has another use. You know, Forrest Gump said, it is what it does, you know. So, I mean, when you look at his work, you just think about how many things you have thrown away that could be used to create something, make art. Even with our children, we got to start teaching our children that, yeah, you're done with that, might be a scrap of that, but you could put that with something else and we could make this. And that's what I love about his work. It's recycling, you know what I mean? It's recycling, it's promoting green living, which we all need to really step our game up in before it's gone. Really, real talk.
I am a creative person by nature, and I create a little bit of everything outside of poetry. And I've been wanting to do something on canvas. I got this idea from The Apprentice, one of their episodes, but when the Celebrity Apprentice. But when I saw his work, it was just like, wow, he really did all of this with all of this. And it kind of made me think of, if you're from here, then you probably know about the house that's like right over by Shortridge Junior High School. And I mean, the house is full of like rusted collections of art, but I grew up with my mom and everybody around me like, look at that junk. Why doesn't he take that junk out of his yard? What's wrong with him? And it's all in his yard. And it made me think immediately of him and how people don't respect artists for being artists. Like, we have this conception that artists are supposed to be A, B, C, D, and it's not that way. And I'm really about the heart with my art. I really am. And so when I seen the section about the really bright section about art against all odds. And you walk in there after you go through all these other sections and it's really dark and it makes you think, but then you walk into this new bright section and these colors are like bursting out of everywhere. And he's talking about his struggle as an artist, and the piece, Strange Fruit, with the numbers. It has numbers of all the channels that showed this 60 Minutes clip, and I digress, but I completely understood that piece. Like, I stood and stared at that piece for so long because it just felt like I have been there where I felt like I was just kind of hanging, and I didn't even know who hung me up there. I didn't know if it was me or them or what, but I just felt like I was swinging back and forth. So I totally related with like so much of his work just on a creative level.
Okay, I'm gonna just add one thing. One of the things that I did was actually go to Alabama and try to meet Mr. Dial. And in my journey there, I was performing in Huntsville, and the sister said, oh. Hey. It's an Atlanta thing. One of the things that I did was went to Alabama, and I wanted to meet Mr. Dial because, like everyone has said, the artwork itself was just so vocal. You know, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to put the spoken with the visual, because the work spoke to you when you saw it. You know, it just yelled out these beautiful things. You know, it was when he was comparing leaving the country and going into the city where it looks like gold and it's not. You know, when he was, I mean, there are just a number of things, but my favorite was bringing the rats to the city. And it just, I mean, it was, his work is so, like Georgia said, very political. And when I got to Alabama, I didn't actually meet him, but I met his family members, and they were so welcoming. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about us. Sometimes we have nicknames, and we don't really know everybody by their real name, but we know their nickname. So I got a poem about that called Nomenclature, but I digress on that end. So I stopped at the gas station and said, hey, I'm looking for this artist named Thornton Dial. I think he's great. I know his artwork is in his yard. And the lady behind the counter and said, I don't know nobody named Thornton Dial, but I got an uncle named Buck. He's an artist, and he got art in his yard. He live in a mansion right down the street. I can show you exactly where it is. I'm going to take a break. And she called her auntie, and her aunt said, yeah, his name is Thornton, baby. And they gave me some original work. They gave me a letter that his sister had written, and that, you know, he had just lost one of his very good friends, and so he wasn't in a position. You know, everything was just so quick, and I'm like that too. So, like, last minute, I know Lindsay was just rearing her little head today, because I was like, we gonna do this right now before we open up the door. So I digress on that too, but still, he wasn't able to meet with us, but his family opened up his doors and just gave me hours of stories about how he created. And then when Jane Fonda dropped her plane down there and said, I'm gonna take this one for this amount of money, everybody in the family said, I'm an artist. I draw, you know. And so it's that type of thing that it just began to speak. You know, the work spoke for itself, and we wanted to be a part of it. And when I invited everybody, Sonny Patterson, Georgia, and Emerald, even at the last moment, she had known of his work in January. And when we found out about the work, they called and was like, oh my God, he's amazing. And we came up to the museum about 30, 50 times. I know Ann was like, you guys are back again? We came as many times as we possibly could because we just fell in love with the work and we wanted more people to see it. And so we invited all of you and opened it up for the teachers to bring their students for absolutely free because the work is amazing. Thank you for allowing me that opportunity to share that part. Your question? Hello, beautiful. She's the actual teacher right here in Indianapolis, Indiana. How you doing, girl?
Whether it was as a group or as individuals, can you talk about a piece that really struck with you and helped you to create this or select the selections that you presented to us and how you felt like your work was related or manifested in what you saw?
Well, for the sake of the children, we tailored some of the work that we wanted to actually present. We wanted the children to be here. We didn't want to negate that. We wanted them to be here. But some of the work was for adults. And so we drew back on some of the language, and we said we were going to use certain poems, you know, with tailored language. So one of my favorite pieces was one of the pieces where I call it line dry, and I know that's not it, but it's plate number 76. But I know that's not it, but it was a piece that was, it showed all peoples. Oh, that's a whole nother thing too. What was the name of the piece where he said, raggedy, it might be a raggedy flag, but everybody has to, we still have to live. But we all ties together, yeah. And the flag may be raggedy, but it all ties together. I think I'm maybe paraphrasing. But I wanted to do a piece called Schizophrenic Tendencies. And that piece, in that piece, it tells us that everybody has to go through manure, you know. So we have to have manure put on us in order to grow. You know, and you know, it uses other language, but in order for the flowers to grow, at one time in your life, you might get pooped on. You know what I'm saying? You might get pooped on. And so I wanted really to use that piece, and I was going to set up, you know, some of you saw I'm very dramatic, and I was going to set it up and look like I was homeless and everything and say, you know, because he talked about that in his work, and I was going to set that up and let you know that we all have to go through that in order for us to grow. And it hurts and it stinks. But that was one of my favorite, you know, pieces. And what I wanted to do, we picked the pieces that we used for a number of reasons. And so I'm going to let everybody else tell why they picked theirs and what was the favorite. But in our adult time, I want us to go back. Maybe we'll do an anthology or something like that and put together. Did y'all hear me on the museum? The museum, maybe we'll do an anthology or something and put together something where we can write the words and you can read them off the page about his work, and we'll see how that works.
Well, like I said, with me, trophies just jumped out, you know, especially in our society, women are accessories. You know, not that, and if you, I love Hillary Clinton's quote, where she was like, you're scared if you get your PhD, you won't get your MRS. You know that quote? You know, like, you know, you're just supposed to be a dummy. You know, that's because the man can't handle nothing else. But I never aspired to be that, but I understand we all want to be desired. So it just jumped out at me. And as a black girl, you know, my white homegirls with brown hair who are blonde, been brunette since they was born, but you would never know it. They 50 years old, You know, it's just what the ideal they put up as what is beautiful. And if you are not that, then you fall short, which is far from the truth. So the way that he captured those women on that canvas and bound them with wires is just prolific. And we need to see that so that we can be free. It frees you to know that I don't want to be a trophy, you know? And so I just, not only that, like, oh, Alabama, Peckwood, the book period, you know, I just kept, because I'm in Atlanta. I have not seen the exhibit. I know. I just got here like an hour ago. We just drove in. So, but I've been studying the work, and I can't wait till it comes to Atlanta so I can tell everyone. And another thing I want to say about Thornton Dial in particular, we never give light to our artists. We never give light to our artists. There are so many contemporary amazing artists. Anybody ever heard of Gerald Griffin out of Chicago? Gerald Griffin is one of the most amazing artists that has ever existed. But there's nothing wrong with Henry Ossawa Tanner. I love Henry Ossawa Tanner, you know, how many of y'all know Henry Ossawa Tanner? See, that's not right. But you know Jeezy, you know Lil Wayne, and you don't even want to know them. You understand me? So I'm saying I charge everybody in here to go spread the knowledge. What you've learned today, go share with someone. Let them know they can be on something else than what is presented to them. And we have a couple more days. How long is it? To the 18th. So and it moves you. It's emotional, you know? So, and the freedom. Do you know how we live in a so-called free society? America has become less and less free. You know, so he is unapologetic about how he feels. And we don't have artists doing it. Artists are the legislators of the world. Amen. We are, but a lot of us are scared. But Thornton Dial, like, I'm 82 years old. I don't care. I'm down here in the country. And you say what you want to say. I don't care. So it frees me, you know. So, okay, that's enough. Go ahead, Emerald.
Y'all give it up for Georgia. Honey, she need her own show, honey. One thing I do like, Trophy. I think it gave what stuck out to me was, like you say, the bounding, the muteness. When women, we have been here the entire time, everything's going on. And it's like we have forgotten our strength and our role in this. You know, if you want to go through any trial and tribulation that the country has gone through, we have been there the entire time. If you want to go through the wars, we were here. Black Panther Party, we was flipping pancakes. You know, we have been here the entire time, and it's for us to get to this stage and not have a voice, or have a voice and feel like you can't say something is a great disservice to the Fannie Lou Hamers of the world, and a great disservice to the Shirley Chisholms of the world that wouldn't shut up, that made it their business to speak. So it's like when you see the art, that art invokes your voice, that art invokes your mind. You know, it's like even now with the artists that are out now, they're still scared to cross that political threshold. Oh, it might not get hung up, or they might not pick up the whole thing. They just might pick up these pieces because I'm scared to put these pieces in there. You gotta be unapologetically who you are, especially if you're a creative person. You have no idea what somebody else is going to look at your work and take from it. What does that say to them? And that's one thing that we have to do, especially as women, encourage our daughters to be creative. I understand they look cute and the hair looks nice, but man, encourage our children just to be creative. You know, don't throw that away. I got this brother I want to introduce you to. Ever heard of Thornton Dial? He makes this with junk, baby. What people consider junk. And people consider people junk. That's why they're so quick to throw them away. But you can't do that. You have to, those things that you consider junk, look at them again. Imagine how much stuff we throw away in our garbage cans that we could use over and over and over again. I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna shut up. My auntie, right, she'll never throw away her deodorant things. You know the deodorant things? She use it all the way to it, go all the way up and it's clacking, clack, 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 clack. Y'all know what I'm talking about? So this is what she do. She take that little thing of deodorant,
She slivers it off of there. This is crazy. Slivers it off of there. Waits till she get about 6 or 7 of them and molds them back together and put them back in the deodorant thing and keep the party going.
Wow. For me, I've been writing poetry since I was a junior in high school, and I'm a proud 32-year-old woman, so, you know, do the math on yourself, on your own. But I started in high school just with, like, basic poetry, you know, lines that rhyme, and I liked it. And I always loved that poetry just seemed not to have all the rules that everything else has. Like, you could write in fragments, you could write in run-ons. It was just like, this is what's up. But I didn't know that Indianapolis had open mics here for a long time. I actually did my very first poem at my grandfather's funeral, and I was approached by somebody at the funeral that suggested that I come to Caribbean Village for poetry. And I never could get anybody to go with me, but I had a childhood friend that I met when I was 3 years old, who I was actually in a bad relationship, and she was like getting me out the house, and she took me to the Cozy, and I didn't even know that it was poetry. I didn't know what we were going for. And I got in there, and just seeing all these people get on stage and just spit, like they just saying what's on their mind, and just saying what they feel, what they've been through, and nobody is telling them they can't do it. Nobody is telling them that it's wrong. Everybody is clapping and is happy about it. So it was about that moment. I think I was like 25, and it's been on and popping since then, since the moment I took the stage, and it just gets reinvented every time I do it over and over again. And even when I think that maybe this is wrong for me, I get a gazillion, for lack of better words, signs that lets me know that it's not wrong.
What encouraged me to start writing, to be quite honest with you, 92, I remember my mom was like, you can't watch TV. And I remember coming in, Nightline was on TV, and it was during the Rodney King beatings, and LA was going crazy. And I remember going to school the next day, and my teacher was like, I want y'all to write a poem or an essay on why you think they should stop the riots in LA. And, you know, I go back to my mom, my dad, you know, my mom and dad, they was radicals. So, you know, they let me stay up all night, watch the news, CNN. Oh, go ahead, baby, take your references, you know. So I come back to school the next day, and I present it to my teacher. Mind you, my mama was like, oh, you gonna type that up, you know what I mean? Type it up, I give it to my teacher. My teacher, like, took the paper out the room. So I'm like, oh, I done hit a note, you know what I mean? I'm like, she took it out the room, brought the principal back, and they were like, this is amazing. They called my mother. Imagine your mama, your mother is being called because you're doing good. You feel me? Ow! So ever since that moment, I'm like, what? This is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. Like, you know, I get good calls from mama for this.
You know how they have summer camp. I don't know if they have it up here in Indianapolis, but in Atlanta they have Camp Best Friends. It's for all the poor kids. They can go to camp for $8 a week. But I'm so grateful. We need those programs, because in Camp Best Friends, I am an amazing dancer. I'm an amazing dancer. Y'all don't know. I'm telling y'all, don't sleep. Okay, anyway. But it was this teacher named Ms. Jenkins who gave me Nikki Giovanni's Ego Tripping at 8 years old. And my world was rocked. And then I performed it, and it was like, oh, that's so great. I'm like, well, I like the way she speak. I like that. So then I started seeking poetry, and then I found Sonia Sanchez and the words she used. I was like, ooh, y'all see these words? You know, so child see explicatives on paper in the library. You know, that do something. That's like porn at 8, 9 years old, you know. So But I just writing has always been my weapon and my wealth. You know, my friends going through something, I'm gonna write you a poem. My homeboy want to talk to this girl, I'm gonna write you a poem. One of my homegirls was finna run away from home to get away from her mama. I wrote a poem to keep her there. You know, so it just, and I didn't know, and in 98, I'm always reading poems. You know that poem y'all heard today, Sister to Sister, a dude had not called me back, you know. And so I had went to work and shared it with my coworkers, and they was like, you need to go read this somewhere. And I was like, I ain't saying this in front of nobody. People gonna be judging me and all that. But when I went up there and said it, shaking with the paper in my hand, standing ovation, when I walked outside and was praising God, a girl came up to me and was like, I'm gonna put some clothes on when I go to the club. And it was then that I knew I had the power to affect people in a positive way. And I asked God right there, if you allow me to do this, I will spit anywhere you say. Just get me out of Atlanta and help me take care of my family. And I have been doing spoken word, only spoken word, since 98. So.
Been abused, neglected, hurt, molested, raped, aborted, and or who have thought about abortion. That's what I love to write, and that's where people are most fed and healed. And so I wrote this book, and I asked everybody to publish it. And I got all of these no's because poets, unless you are a known name, publishers don't want to publish your book. And so I ran into a publisher out of Indianapolis, and I tell this story all the time. Her name is Crystal Rose. And I said, can you publish my book? And she said, why? And I was like, because I'm good. And she said, so you want me to own you? It took me to a whole nother place. And I know sometimes people think I'm rude or I say something to them when they ask me about their work or reading. And it's because of my elders who came before me and said, so you want me to own you? So I'm going to take 60% of that and give you 40%. What do you know about publishing? That's all of this came together. What do you know about publishing? And I was still standing there like, I'm good. I'm really good. Just read it. Can you read it first? You know, then tell me. And she was just like, what do you know? What have you read about what it is that you want? Amen. And it stuck me right here in the heart. And I began a whole program about it. I want y'all to read what it is that you want. Know about publishing. Know about self-publishing. And then Miles Davis said it so great. Own your own shit. So I published my first book in 2002 called Coffee Thoughts. And then I went back to her and said, I did it myself. And then she said, create a niche. Make a name for yourself. And so I went to every open mic in the city of Indianapolis every day. 2002, I had a son, and I used to carry him on my hip in a little buggy. And for 3 years, I did that every open mic I could go to. So for you poets who get mad that I don't come to open mics, I did it. Every day, me and my son, and going to places and putting out flyers and telling people about poetry. And so don't judge me. If I don't come, it's because I don't feel like it today. I did it, you know? And so I'm trying to get other people in other places. How about that? So that was my thing. And I wanted to write books. And so almost every year, I would just spend the whole year writing another book. And I put out a book almost every year. And then when I got to about 2006, I put out an anthology of my students. And then 2009, I put out another book for myself. And then I penned a book about HIV and AIDS. And Robert E. Wood Foundation supported me in that, and the Ebenezer Foundation paid for it. And that was my whole dream, was to write books. And I learned how to perform my work. Another one of my favorite poets, Etheridge Knight, said, poems should be heard. So I learned how to perform the work so you could hear it, so you could see how those words, what they sounded like on that page, and try to get you to buy a book. And then by the time we got to 2010, they was like, we don't want no book, we want a CD. So I had to learn how to do that, but my whole desire was to get people to read, and I'm still that way. You know, the I Must Read Poetry Slam is twofold. I wanted you to read books, and I wanted you to read poetry. And so my whole thing was trying to get people to read. And poetry was just my outlet to get out what I had been through or what I had saw and tried to heal somebody else. So that's how it all came about. So we want to thank you, because I think that's it.
Thank you.